Okay. I know now that we have the first assignment for week 2. Some of you guys maybe don't like me anymore, but the week 2 assignment was some sort of like not just an assignment so you guys can just like solve everything and have to do everything and perfectly fine. It's as well like to see from me to see where you guys stand with how you're understanding what I'm explaining and how so I can see from which languages you come from. It's not really all these exercises I gave you. There were no right or wrongs. There are multiple ways of solving them. So all the comments, all the feedback I got, all the question I got were exactly what I was looking for. So I can get a better idea of who you are, how you dealt with exercises. So some of you guys were worried that it was too much, or like that maybe didn't understand different things. Everything is perfectly fine, so no worries. With that said, I would like to start with kind of like a question or a discussion round where you can ask your questions or tell me what you thought about the exercises, what would have been a little bit more helpful. Just some questions, some starting points. Okay. Okay. So basically, most of the issues were with exercise 2 and the string copy, and which string copy you will not be using much or anymore in iOS in Objective-C. It's more like C and C, and you will only get to see those functions when you deal with lower level code, which sometimes you will see in Apple's framework. So maybe okay. Let me maybe open up and see if I can share Xcode and okay. Again. Okay, more cheat sheet reference guides. Okay, that I can do. I'm looking at some questions. Okay, display specific dictionary content. I will go through dictionary content more in more detail. We will be using arrays and dictionaries a lot. I will also go in through every exercise as well. Okay, let me just go. How can it follow the chat? A problem understanding exercise 2 that we have issue with the homework 1 couldn't display the sorted dictionary. I will show right now in the solutions. Couldn't call super on the ambulance. I will show that as well in how you there is like in the ambulance class there is not really a super because you just subclass from the main class you created, so there is no super in that case. Let's talk on string copy again. We'll go through that, but you won't be needing much of string copy. I saw that different exercises were solved in different ways, which is perfectly fine because when you add different values into an array, string copy is not the only way to do it. It's like very low level way to do it. And I've seen other solutions submitted which are perfectly fine. And a string, we will do a lot more in a string. I will see if I will be referring to more relevant material as well. What I also discovered a little bit in Epsilon that I think different information did not get sent or they were not really easy to find. When I was uploading any reference or updating the lesson, I wasn't really sure what kind of information you guys are getting. So if there is any feedback to that, what you were not able to find, or if I should be emailing it instead or like doing it in a different way, I would appreciate that if you can let me know that. Okay, provide some more samples and answers. Okay, that's I'll take that. Parents didn't work either. Parents, there is no term parent at all in Objective-C. And yes, I will go over the class exercises, not just the 8 and 9, but also the other ones. It would be helpful to upload them. Okay. I think if I didn't miss any, okay, example would be helpful. Okay. I see Scott has raised the hand.
Yeah, I just figured it'd be easier for me to talk. So I had a question about the, in the lesson you went over, you said that you shouldn't have public variables in your classes. That was a no-no. But I found that when I was implementing the vehicle and I had to set the particular attributes of the vehicle in the main class, I wasn't able to access those variables if they were protected. That was off limits, so I had to convert them to a public in order to be able to actually be able to set the variables on the vehicle class. So, well, what's the proper way of handling that situation in Stake?
Well, they have to, in order to be able to use them in in a different class, they do have to be public, but you would not need specifically to set them to public. They would have to be in the header file, and they would have to be as let me see, as properties. So everything within the header file then would be available in the class which is implementing it. So if you have the vehicle, in the header file, when you create a property in the header file, that makes that variable public. So you don't need really to specify, is it public or is it protected or private. A property in the header file is always public. A property creates the getters and setters and creates that variable, and that will, any other class which implements this particular vehicle class would have access to those variables.
Okay, so I shouldn't be using sort of the standard, I guess, the Java way of doing it with having the variables set to public, protected, or private. I should really be utilizing the properties. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You will never see, you almost never will see that you declare something public or private or anything like that. You won't see that. Does it answer, Scott, does it answer the question, or?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Jerome, is it possible to use shorthand array creation for, wasn't able to get, yes, it is possible to use that, but at the end you just need to add dot mutable array, because the literals, they are immutable. So everything what you need to be mutable, you just attach dot mutable array after, or dot mutable copy, sorry. Everything what needs to be mutable is then dot mutable copy. And John, yes, it would be helpful just to upload as a zip file so all the exercises are in, but if you want to upload them one by one, I'll find them anyway. Yes, Jerome, exactly, that's the way, mutable copy. Scott?
Yeah, another question. So the NF number class, you're not actually able to do any math on that, correct? You need to cast it to a primitive data type to be able to do math on it, and then cast it back to an NS number type.
I didn't understand. Can you say it again?
So if you have a number set as an NS number in the NS number class, you can't actually do any sort of operations on that. You have to convert it to an integer or a float to be able to actually use the number and do calculations, correct?
Right. NS number is just some sort of, as you saw last week in my examples, there can be anything. It can be double, float, integer, even a Boolean can be added into or be an NS number. And whatever you need to do then with that operation, you just call, let's say if it's an integer value, you call int value or integer value on the NS number, and then you work with that.
Okay, thank you.
Um, yes, when to use NS number. NS number is the Objective-C, like when you create a dictionary or an array and you would want to write to a file, or you need that array to be compatible to be able to write into a file. So it needs to be NS number or NS string. Everything needs to be the foundation framework classes. So you cannot, let's say you have an array of int, and that would be not Objective-C. So you have to always do converting, and therefore you can't really print it out. You cannot save it. We will see a lot more examples where we need to use NS number, but you only when you have to do some operations on the values, then you have to convert it into integer or anything else. But you will Objective-C and iOS use those NS number, NS string, NS array, NS dictionary. Those are like the main classes to work with Objective-C. I will try to share my Xcode. Okay. Where we go? Yes, I will definitely go into detail about the selectors and NS array, and you're going to be seeing even much more of NS array during the entire class anyway. Especially once we go and go to work with table view controllers, a lot of NS arrays and operations on them will be used. Okay. I'm going to try to share my screen. One thing about the app share, if for some reason the app share is a little slow, when the screen shows up, there is a button, Scale to Fit. I would recommend not clicking that button, Scale to Fit, since the screen will be rendered too many times. Therefore, you will be seeing kind of delays in screen rendering. So if you just try without the Scale to Fit, and you should be able to see a better screen resolution and a better screen performance. If you're having any issues seeing what I'm showing, just let me know, so I can look if I can slow it down or find some other ways to show you the content. So the first exercise just screen sharing is a bit okay. The first exercise simply was to show different primitive values in an NF log. So the Objective-C way of using printing into the console, and printf is then the C, which most of the submissions I got were pretty similar as what I have had in mind. Yeah, just printing out the different values, printing out, let's say, integers, booleans. There was like questions about the boolean, if that was correctly printed, and yes, you would print out the boolean, the real value of the boolean, and not the word. You don't want to be working with what you would expect as word, but you would want to work with the values really instead. And there, like one, in float, some results figured with this annotation, like if you have only 3 characters after the period, or if you won't do this, then it would just print out the entire and the double value basically. So this was actually like pretty simple. I did get some responses about this, trying to make it in a more difficult way. Whenever I give you any exercises, just try first the most simplest way, because I'm not trying to make it very complicated or to switch you into something that nothing is hidden. So running this should give you the results as you can see on the screen. And you'll see here that the float, you have 3 digits after the period. You see here on the double, where we did not add any formatting for digits, it prints out with the extra 2 digits. So this was basically all what exercise 1 was about. And let me try to open exercise 2. And exercise 2 we had the string copy, which all of this is simply in creating an array, and the string copy, adding the names, which this way is simple C. It's not Objective-C. So then printing it out, very similar to Objective-C as well, with square brackets. We added the integer array, and there was also an assignment to create a structure. The structure, we created it right here, where the structure has like all these values, and we set them, we create a new animal in this particular case. Structures are if you need just you don't need an extra class, you just need to use this particular structure an object basically, which doesn't have any getters and setters, and just be able to create a little object, which it's a very simple object, so you can use that in here instead of like creating here as we created before, integer and name it, and integer length, integer weight, integer number of feet. If you would not want to create all those variables separately here, you just create a structure and can use it over and over in this class. Just kind of like a collection of different variables which would belong together. And we created this animal here, and we print it out by literally just calling this dot annotated and printing it over ns log. In this assignment, there was a little bit different exercise and to create the P and the area, which simply is similar as what we created here. We created we defined just an integer value. We named it square feet in room. We defined a constant of grade point average, and those constants, and we can use wherever we need to use that in this class. If we have some constant which we need to use throughout an entire app, we would just put it in some sort of a separate class. We would call it constant or like utility class or something like that. And you can use it over and over in any classes you would need. So you don't need like to type in here, what did we have here? 1050, you would not need to type in here the value, and then somewhere else, if you would use the same constant, you would have to make sure that you're not mistyping it. This way, using this defined value, this defined variable, then you can just use it, and you can be sure that Xcode will know how to work with it, and you cannot make any mistakes like mistyping or using it that way. I'm gonna open the third. The third exercise was, let's just a little bit the screen and wait for its renders. Yes, and the exercise, the constant was to be P and times the radius. It's just a different example which I just showed. It doesn't really it's the same exercise, it's just a different example. But I can also zip up those samples, those that I'm showing, and as well make it available to you guys so you can go through them and see the differences, what's possible. Because like I said before, there was nothing wrong with whatever you guys submitted. It all looked fine, and but you can see a different way of how it can be done. So in exercise 3, we had to create, let me switch to the PDF. sometimes when I need to switch to the PDF, you see probably a blank screen. So it's the tools, like I said, it's a little bit funny how they work. So we had to create here a prototype function, which prototype function, well, this is in C, and it's similar to if you were to create an Objective-C method and declaring that method in the header file, and then creating the body in the implementation file. So in this case here, we just we use the C, since we just wanted to have everything in the main.m. We did not want to go too far and create too many classes, just to see how we can work with even C functionality. And what we used then here, we created 3 floats, and we're using this function here and passing values to it, and whatever it returns, it will be saved in this variable. And then again, we can just print that out, and what I'm expecting here, that the 2 digits, and what should be printed out is, let me see, where is it? There we go. Can you all see the Xcode really okay? How, just so I can get a little bit feedback before, so while we go through these Objective-C exercises, because in the next part I would start this iOS project, and it would be really helpful to have a little bit feedback how Xcode is showing up for you through AppShare. Okay. 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 I'm also going to try. Yeah, I'm also going to try to like move a little bit slower if I'm moving too fast and the screens, just like let me know to move a little slower. But I'm going to try really to not make too many moves, and really only the necessary ones. Okay, I'm going to close these 3 exercises and go to the 4th. The 4th exercise, making the screen a little smaller. Okay. In the 4th exercise, we created as well. And all those exercises were based on a command line project. So very basic. So you only have the main.m and whatever supporting files Xcode creates for you. You don't need to worry about those. And everything we created is inside the auto release pool. And in this exercise, we have created an immutable array with a capacity of 6, and we added all the names in there. Then we inserted at a specific index. We changed at a specific index a name. We replaced at a specific index another name. Again, we we replace at index 1. Then here's the sorting. The sorting, let me see if I can, I'm going to just hide that, the navigation. Okay. NS mutable array, I'm creating a new one just to show like how I'm sorting. And I'm on the NS mutable array names. I'm calling the method sorted array using selector. And then you just add selector, and in NS mutable array there is a selector called case sensitive compare. It's provided to you. You don't need to create this. And you can see by holding the command button and clicking on that, you can see where this actually comes from. So you can see here, you can see it comes from the foundation framework and it's part of the NS string. Since we're comparing strings with each other, we have here case sensitive compare. We have also a compare, which is like a regular compare. We have different other with options and so on. So on the class NS string, we have this compare sensitive compare. And why we use that, we know that we have strings in this array. And with this method, this array will be sorted. And since we are using here the literal, and we're returning an NS mutable array, we just add this dot mutable copy behind. So since we are expecting a mutable copy. Now we have here the sorted names, and we have here the names which we had before, and we're just looping through them, printing them out, printing the names, printing the sorted names. And let me run this so far until here. And you will see here we have you will see in the log the first 7. They're the unsorted, the original array, and the sorted array. Then we had an array and we initialized this array with objects. And we're printing out, since these objects are all strings, and the way you can retrieve one string out of the array is by just an index of objects, and the object you pass, the object in this case is a string, so it could be any object. Whatever object you would have, you would get the return of the index returned from that object. And there's like, we print this out, we print the index out. And on the arrays, we have as well, we can print out the count. On the sorted arrays, we print out the count, and the teams, we can print out the count. So this exercise was mostly about arrays, and this is what you would receive as return. Any questions to this? Okay. Not. Then I'm moving to exercise 5. Exercise 5. And exercise 5 was about Ennis numbers and creating different Ennis numbers from different values. And we have here, we're creating, move it a little bit up. Okay, so we have an Ennis number, and we're creating this Ennis number from a number with float. Then we have another, the principal, number with float. Then we have number with integer. And to get the, and this is the way how you would receive the float out of a number. So, of course, you might say, but I already have the float here. Why couldn't I just like assign it to this float here? It's just like to show how you would set it and how you would retrieve it. The same thing here, how you would retrieve the int value from term. So if there are, if the term is 120, you want to iterate through 120, but if you only have it as an Ennis number, you get the int value out of Ennis number, and then you work with int values and float values based on those Ennis numbers you created up here. So if I run this project, you will see like 120 months with their interest rates and the balance. Would you be able to pass a variable of Ennis object to where, Melissa? Would you be able to pass the variable of the Ennis number object through also? I'm not quite understanding the question. Maybe you want to press the talk button. Oh. Oh, you mean if you would just use principal instead? Yeah, you can't. And an Xcode will tell you assigning to float from incompatible type Ennis number. Ennis number is a pointer object, so you need to calculate, you need the float value. So you would need the float value to calculate, to pass it to float. I mean, the way this could look something like this. So it makes it a little bit more clear. And we only created it here because you can see when I click on this float, you'll see it's used up here and here. So it's used in multiple places. So if it were only used in one place, then I would just use this and pass it in here. Yeah. But anytime you can really try, Xcode helps you a lot. You can, if you think that this maybe should work, or you think, okay, let me try instead of using this, let me try to do this, Xcode will tell you that something is wrong. So you get really a lot of help through Xcode if you try to type in something which is not possible. So my advice is just try it out. You cannot break anything. It's gonna, if it works, if it's acceptable, Xcode will not complain about it. Okay. Open. Now, exercise 6. Exercise 6 was about any string and displaying different characters. Okay, so we have here okay, there it is. We're working here in exercise 6. We're working a lot different things what strings can do. So we have here a string, and we're substringing it to index 9, substring 2 from index 20. So this first substring should give you the first 9 characters. The second substring should give you all characters after the 20th. Then you can do replacement. You can create a new string. We're creating a new string from the original sentence, and we're replacing strings with a new string. So wherever the word "the" occurs, we're replacing it with "your." Then, and here string replacing occurrence, same thing as well. It's a new state, so we're replacing Texas with Connecticut. And once I run this, you will see the first substring, or the first 9 characters. The second substring from 20th character, so you can see it from here. Then we have the replacement. We replace "the" with "your." So we replace those words. There are ways to do that case sensitive. I think the way it is case sensitive. So you see, I typed in the case sensitive, and this word here is lowercase, and it didn't replace it. Actually, hold on. Yeah, here. There we go. It didn't replace it. So this is okay. I'm not getting the autocomplete right now, so for whatever reason. Let me see. And yeah, you could. Replacing the store with. I know what you mean. I will need to take a look at that. I'll get back to you on that if that's okay. Yeah, I mean it absolutely would make sense if you want really every single word, even if it's the uppercase or the lowercase. Yeah, but I'll get back to you on that. Okay, so we had the replacement, we had the new state, and what we also are printing out here is the entire string in uppercase. So in here we have everything uppercase. Then we're doing some funny things here, like this replacing specific characters, and when you print this out, we have like, if you need really to replace specific characters. And you see here sentence characters at index, and if that character's index is, depending on what character you're expecting, you can either change it or do whatever you need to do with this. It's just an example of what you can do with the strings. This was exercise, I'm going to go to 6, open 7. In 7, we still have just a regular command line tool project. We have here a dictionary. We're creating a dictionary with objects and keys, and we have the objects and keys and nailing the dictionary. Then what we're printing out is the object for key, and we need to pass the key as exactly as the key was set here. So if you're looking for the object at this key and you're misspelling it here, then you would not find it. The same thing. Now, all the keys can be, you will see this a lot. You can create out of the keys of the dictionary, you can create an array. So if, let's say, you want to print out a table and space only the keys need to be printed out, you get out of that dictionary, and this is an array, all keys. And then you can see it here. You will be able then to print that specific key, and based on that specific key, you can get the value, the object. In this case, it's just a string object, but you can have any type of object in a dictionary. And we're printing out the name of the player. Now, sorting this array, you cannot really sort a dictionary. You sort the array, you sort the keys. So what we're doing here is we're creating an array, and based on the dictionary's key sorted value by using compare. So the keys sorted by value using selector, And compare is a functionality on NSString. So since we have NSString here, this will be sorted, and then we can go through, we can iterate through that array again and print out it in alphabetical order. So let's see this. So we have here the sorted list. So yeah, we have the sorted list right here. So yeah, like we're simply sorting the keys based on their value. And compare does that for us. I'm going to go again here on compare. Compare, it's in this case, no, it's not on this, it's decimal number. Based on the keys. So compare, you can find compare in NSNumber, NSString. You can also create your own compares. So let's say you have an object and you want, and in that object you have multiple variables, and you want to write your own compare method based on that. You want to sort your array, since NSString knows how based on what it needs to sort. NSNumber knows based on what needs to be sorted, but your own, if you create your own object, then you need to write that compare as well. But we will get to that point how you would write that your own compare method. But for now here, this was the exercise 7, and exercise 8. What we did in exercise 8 is then a little bit more than just the main class. In the main class, we used another class which we created, and that's the vehicle class. And I'm going to move the screen a little bit. Okay, the vehicle class we created, this is how the header file looks like. We created all those properties, and even though I explained we don't need this read and write, because read and write is the default attribute. I just added it here so it's really clear what's being generated for you. Then we have we're declaring the different methods we are going to be calling on this object. Then when I click here on the breadcrumb, do I actually need the instance variables? That's a good question. I wouldn't. So if I run, it still would work. So I added them there just like to make sure that the previous way of doing it was creating the instance variables there, but we don't need them. It's literally, this is all you need. You need to declare the methods, because those need to be public. Those need to be accessible by the class you are implementing, this vehicle class. And you can see we are subclassing from NSObject. Since we're subclassing from NSObject, we have different methods available like alloc, init, what we don't need to take care of on our own. And as you can see here, can you see that? Why doesn't, well, what I'm doing here, and I can see it's for you probably just a little dark box, but that I'm clicking on in the breadcrumb and I'm switching to the vehicle.m, to the implementation. Of course, we don't need the synthesize as well. So we only need here to fill the body of all the methods we're going to use. And we have accelerate, we have brake, turn on, turn off, turn left, turn right. So once we go to the main class, you can see you create a vehicle instance. You assign what number of wheels, type of engine, passengers, and so on. Then this is created. The read on the direction and function. Direction and speed should be private. Let me see. We have direction and we have speed and we have read and write. So what we have direction and speed, we're setting it both to 0, but we cannot set it like afterwards. So it is read only. Hold on, is it read only? Yes, it is. No, it's read write. Sorry. Read write. In this case, it needs to be read write because otherwise we wouldn't be able to set it. We don't have an initialized. If we would have an init method, if we would have an init method, then we would set those direction and speed to read only, and in the init we would set them then to 0. So, but since we did not create an init, we did not overwrite the init. We just made everything read and write. Now we see here we're calling the method turn on. We need to turn on the engine. Then accelerate. We print out the speed. We hit the brake. We print out the speed again. We change direction. Again, speed. And you can play around with those methods. So printing this now, you will see vehicle has been turned on. So it depends on if you, let's say you're trying to accelerate more than you are allowed, we have here an error. So you have the maximum speed, what you can, current speed and maximum speed. So based on those methods, you can see you use the methods, but the methods know what is possible. And let me check here, and you see here in accelerate, we are checking if the engine is turned on, because if the engine is not turned on, then you won't be able to accelerate. So the speed needs to be less than the top speed. If all this applies, then we can print out NSLog accelerate. And if not, there is an error. Same for brakes. So pretty simple. Now, this was all about exercise 8, and now we will be opening exercise 9. In exercise 9, we used the exercise 8 code and just added a little bit more. We added, remove this. Now in exercise 8, we created an object and subclassed it from NSObject. Now, what we do here is we create a new object, ambulance, and we subclass it from vehicle, because we want everything within vehicle, we want to have that functionality as well in ambulance. But the ambulance needs a few more methods, maybe one more property, and we just add those in here. And we just fill the methods needed for the ambulance, and in our main, instead of using vehicle, we use ambulance, and we have access to all the variables from the vehicle, and additionally the variables from the ambulance. We can do everything what we did with the vehicle, turn on, accelerate, but we can also, with the ambulance, we can turn the siren on. Running this, you'll see it works as it works in exercise 8. That's the additional functionality we implemented and subclassed. You don't specifically call it. Since this ambulance class is a subclass of vehicle, it has direct access to it. It just has direct access to it. So if I press the command button on my keyboard and click on this accelerate, you will see, actually accelerate, we're changing a little bit the accelerate here, because let's see, let's say with the turn on. Turn on, the method turn on is in the class vehicle, but we're using it on the ambulance. If you override the accelerate method in this ambulance class, then this is being used. You don't need to call like the parent or super. We're just overriding it. So what if you, okay. What you would do is this. If you want to make sure that the parents or the class and the parent, the method in the parent class is called as well, and you're just adding more functionality, then you call super and whatever method in the parent class exists. This is the way you call it. But you call it in this case, in the ambulance class. You don't call it in the main class. Does it make sense? Let me maybe show it next to each other. Okay. So I have where is the accelerate here? So in the vehicle class, I have this method. And the ambulance class is inheriting those methods because it's subclassing it from vehicle. But if I'm overriding it, I just call it the same way, and so you see the difference here. Let me comment this out. Why I overrode in the ambulance? Because I'm making sure the ambulance is faster. So whenever you accelerate, the ambulance needs to be faster. So it's adding to the speed 20 instead of to the vehicle class 10. So if I were to call the super and accelerate, what would happen is this code would be executed first, and then this. So you would end up accelerating plus 10 and plus 20. If you don't call the super in this case, you end up ignoring this because this is being overwritten by the ambulance class. And we probably can test this out and by seeing what is being printed. So we see here 90, 70, 30. Printing this out again, we see here 60, 40, 0. So you have to make sure before just calling a super if you're really extending functionality or replacing functionality. Any questions? Anyone has any questions to this? Or can I continue to close this topic basically, this Objective-C, and then continue to creating our first iOS application? Yes, I will be sending. I will be uploading the entire zip files of all these exercises, and I'll send then an announcement out. One more thing, like different topic. For next time when you log into Collaborate, I would really appreciate that if you can log in and just like when you are being asked for your name, just to put your first name and maybe the first initial of your last name. So so I know because of like attendance, who is attending. So maybe sometimes I don't know exactly based on the name and on the roster on the class. I maybe have one or two which I'm kind of sometimes not know who they are. So if that will be possible, just you don't need to put in your complete full name, but first name and first initial of last name, so I know that you attended the class. Okay. So now what we're going to do next is we're going to create, and I did mention, I think I mentioned it either in the first class, that the Xcode 5, Apple kind of restricted a little bit how you can create your project. So before it was possible to create a NIT file starting project, or you could decide a storyboard starting project. I really want to show you how you can create a very plain project and what goes into creating a project and what's important to know to create a storyboard project or a NIT file project. So what we're going to do, and you feel free to do that with me, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new Xcode project. And this new Xcode project is going to be an empty application of empty application type. So when you see when you start creating the new project, you select the application, iOS application, and you select empty application. And what this will create for you, and I'm going to create I'm just going to name it iPhone app, because what we're going to do is, you can name it however you want. That's the product name. The organization name, you've seen in all the classes there is a copyright, and that's basically what the copyright organization name is. Then you have the company identifier and the bundle identifier. The company identifier in most cases is the reverse domain name, and the bundle identifier is a combination of the company identifier and the product name. And we have class prefixes. Class prefixes we saw so far a lot. You saw NS string, where NS is the class prefix for the foundation framework. And whenever you create your own project, it is a good idea to have your own class prefix. So I'm just going to use my initials, and we're going to create an application for the iPhone. The options here you have is iPad, Universal, but for now we're just going to create for iPhone. And we're not going to use Core Data. Core Data is going to be in a couple of weeks, so you don't even need to worry about what Core Data is right now. Going next, and let me delete what I have there. You select the location where you want your project to be saved, and uncheck the Create Diff repository, because I'm going to explain that at some later point. Just uncheck that for now, because we won't be needing any repository right now. And we're creating the project. Now, Xcode creates the project for you based on the template we selected, which was an empty application. All you get from Xcode with an empty application is the app delegate, and you can see because I chose my prefix to be AM. All my classes have the class prefix AM. You can see here the copyright. I chose NYU to be my company identifier. The copyright is right there. And we get in the header as well the application name and always the class name. So all we have in our project is this one class. Now, this project is already deployable, runnable. What in Xcode, when you hit the run button, what Xcode will do is open up the simulator. Now, you cannot see the simulator because I need now to do a little bit adjustment on the app share. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So I'm going to share my simulator as well. Okay. So now by creating this empty application, we have everything in there which makes an application runnable on simulator, even on a device. It's the foundation and everything is there. So now, of course, you need more than just an app delegate to run or to create an application. So what we're going to do is, and what this application is going to do is, at the end, once we're done with it, we're going to have a label on the application. We're also going to have an alert. What we will do next is we will create or we will add a view controller. The way we add view controllers to an application is we create a new file, and I see any you might want to also uncheck the scale to fit if that again was automatically checked. And I see different menu items are not showing, they're just showing us a black box. So what I'm going is under File, New, File, and I'm creating a Cocoa Touch. I'm selecting out of iOS Cocoa Touch an Objective-C class. An Objective-C class, and then next. And what we have here is kind of Xcode tries to help us and tries to suggest what we are trying to create. It has our prefix, and it has a view controller, and it has view controller just because the selection of subclass of UI view controller. So if we had a different subclass, if we were selecting from a table view controller, then Xcode would try to suggest that for us. But we are going to create a very simple UI view controller, and I'm just going to call it Hello World View Controller. You can change the naming here anytime. And what we're also going to do is we're going to create an interface file for it. So I'm checking this XIB for user interface and going next. Xcode again tells me, asks me where I want to save this. I'm just choosing for now really the main directory of the application. and I'm creating this file. Now, I have here the header file, I have an implementation file, and I have the interface file. So, to go back to the header file, there's nothing else in there other than the interface, its subclasses from UI View Controller. File new from Xcode, and on the top navigation menu, where you have the Xcode file, edit, new, and then, or you can also hit Command N, which works in almost every application on the Mac, which creates a new file. So now, before I go further, were there any questions so far? Were you all able to create this this empty application with an additional view controller in there? The view controller you create by calling the file, new file, or Command N. Let me see if I can make a screenshot. And see. Okay. Command N, and you select under, let's wait until it comes up, under iOS, Cocoa Touch Objective-C class. When you select Objective-C class, you give it a class name and the subclass of UI View Controller. And we check this NIP file. After that, you will be asked where to save it. It pre-populates, Xcode pre-populates the root folder of this application. And then you just hit the Create button. I'm just going to cancel it since I already have the view controller. Can we just please all put like the voting if everyone has it so far, so I'm not going too fast. Since I promised today I'm going to not drive you too much crazy like the last 2 days, I want you guys to be following and doing hands-on the project. Okay, I'm going to create again another view. So I'm going to hit the Command and N, select Cocoa Touch, Objective-C class, hit the next button, add any name you would like. In this case, I'm just leaving it as is. I'm selecting the NIP, checking the NIP for user interface. Next, and when this window comes up, if in your app share you don't see 100% the window, you can scroll in there, and you can scroll up and down if you have it not scale to fit, because the scale to fit is very pixelated. But if you don't have it, then you can just scroll in that window and you will see the rest of my window, what I'm showing. Oh, you have the simulator. You have to select Xcode. So if you see the simulator in front of Xcode, you just need to select whatever window you have on Xcode to make it the active window. Yes, for Touch Objective-C class. Okay, so I have 5 check marks. I'm still missing a few more. Can I get either check marks or X's? Okay, that looks better. 2 more. Thomas and Seema. Okay, I'm probably just going to follow up on the both of you. Okay, I'm going to continue now then, and when I select the implementation file of that view controller, what I see is a little bit more than we're used to when we create a class. So Xcode creates the most necessary methods for you in the implementation, which is the init with mid name. And in this, I will get to this once we implement this view controller somewhere else. But what you will get is those 2 methods, the view.load and the did receive memory warning. The view.load, these methods are not defined in the interface because those are not created from everything what is defined in the interface. We would create that. And since we did not create those methods, we're just implementing it. Those methods are part of the UI view controller. And again here, if you want to know what the UI view controller has on functionality, you can tap the command button, click on UI View Controller, you see how it becomes blue and underlined. And you will see a lot more what in UI View Controller is defined. And somewhere there, you will see view did load. We have view will appear, will disappear. Where did it go? I'm going to search it. Here's, I don't know exactly where it is. There it is. View did load. So it is defined in the class we subclassed from. So we don't need to define it on our own. We don't need to have it here defined. It's not our functionality, we're just using it. It's very similar what we did with the vehicle class and the accelerate. So we did not declare the accelerate class again, but we overrode it. So therefore, same principle here for the view controller. We are overriding the view did load, whatever the UI view controller already implements, but to make sure, and this is really important because we want to make sure whatever the UI view controller has on its view did load, we call it super view did load. We call that method. And we can do it. So the same what we did with command click on the class, we can do command click on the method, and we will get right into that method here. Of course, we do not have access to Apple's implementation files. We only can see what Apple gives us on information on their header files. So, and the same for did receive memory warning. Apple has some functionality behind it, so there is some cleaning up in when a memory warning appears, but this functionality here is important for you as well. If there is a memory warning, you want to make sure that you clean up some of your code, or you close or you save to the database. Let's say you have a database application which communicates with the server, and you receive a memory warning and you have an open connection to something. You want to make sure that you close that connection so you don't lose any data. So that's why those two functionalities, those two methods are always implemented, and they're important every time a view loads on your screen. This method gets called. Not only this, there are a few more, but for now, this is all what we need. And what we will need to do now is take a look to the third file we have when we created the view controller. So the third file, let me see if I can somehow make this screen. I cannot really make it smaller, but on your Xcode you will see it. You have the NIT file. The NIT file is the user interface file where you can place all your UI elements onto. The NIT file has a view which is of type you didn't see third files because no, Xcode 4.6 has the same, also the three files, but what you probably might have done instead of like, okay, I'm going to go again, create a new Objective-C file. Maybe you did not click, let me, yeah, now it's there. Maybe you did not click the with NIT file for user interface. So if you don't see three files, if you don't see the .h, .m, and .xid, then you might have forgotten to click to create the init file with it. You can just create a new one and create it with a init file and just ignore the previous one if that's easier, or delete whatever you have created and create a new one. So again, back to the init file, we have the view. And the view is, you can switch here to the identity inspector. The identity inspector, as the name says, tells you about this element's identity. So this element is of class UI view. Now let's do this. We need a label on this view. So we're going to just, not the button, we're going to just drag from the object library on the lower right corner of this window. We're going to just drag a label into this view. And once you drag the label onto this view, you will see that it is underneath, it's inside the UI view. And that's really important. It cannot be outside. So in case of you did something like placing it somewhere outside the view, it's not underneath the view, you will get into issues not seeing that label on your screen. So it has to be inside, and usually once you drag and drop from your object library, it always be inside the UI view. Now, we have selected this label, and we're still in the identity inspector. Okay, there are no descriptive names. Okay, if there are only icons, you know, down there where you have the search field, the search all the way on the bottom, next to it there is a little icon and looks like a little notebook or a little a little notepad thingy. When you click on that, you will see the icons turn into a list of objects. Not there? Okay. Oh, you have, okay. So you see all the way on, what it says, placeholder. You mean this, placeholders. And you have icons. You have this way. So you see all the way on the bottom, this button here, this icon. It looks like a YouTube video thingy. When you click on that, it opens up. So then you should see, it's really good to know all those buttons, because sometimes you want it out of the way, and because your focus is only on your screen, so you want it back on. So you just really play around, click on every button. Take at some point, not now, but at some point later or tomorrow, or take your time and just click all the buttons what Xcode has. You cannot break anything, just click them all. And if you don't know something what it is, just hover over it, and most of the time Xcode has a little yellow pop-up where it says what that button means. So, okay, we have the label, and this label I'm going to type in Hello World in this label. You can double click this label and just type any words you would like, and you can also have access not just by double clicking on this label, you can have access to the value in the attributes inspector. And the attributes inspector you can see here on the right, you can see the label's attributes. So at every view, the UI view in this case, the label, they have their different attributes, and you can change them, or if you want a different color. So all of that you'll find in your attributes inspector. You'll find formatting, like fonts. If you want to use specific fonts, you can click on this font icon, and you can use custom fonts, where you can use any font that is available on your Mac and format your label. So now you might think, okay, now I have a UI, I have a view controller. Now I want to see how does it look in my simulator. Now I would like to ask you, let's do some voting. Would it show or would it not show? What do you think? Don't run it yet, so just okay. If I run this application now, and would I see anything in the simulator? That's my question. Would I see this word, Hello World, would I see this in the simulator in here? So that's right. We still don't see nothing. Even though Xcode and iOS and everything is really smart and tries to help us a lot, but we need also to tell Xcode and iOS what to do really. Now, it is not because of the label. It's because the application does not know that it has to load this view controller. So the view controller now, the app delegate does not know what its starting view controller is. So now this is what we're going to do. We have the view controller. And the view controller, we're going to import the view controller header file into the app delegate. And right in between, or actually right before, make key and visible. You don't need to know right now what this means. Right in here, we need to tell this application what is the root view controller. How is this application going to know? What we will do is we will create an instance of our view controller. And now you will know what the third method is for, which Xcode created for us. We're allocating the memory. Now, what we will be doing is, we know that we need to do some init. And we will do init with nibname. And we also know our nib file is called, and I'm going to be lazy, I don't want to type this in. It's going to be called, it's called the exact same as the class itself. So all so far makes sense. And I'm just going to set the bundle to no. That's it. Yes. Now, we just created an instance of our Hello World view controller. What we now need to do is, we have on our window, we have a parameter called root view controller. And based on this root view controller, our application will know what the starting controller is. Okay, sure. Let me know once you see the code. You're supposed to see about 3 lines of code in between UI color and make key invisible. The overlapping. Okay, I can try to reshare the screen. Let me try that. So what you see is the Hello World view controller. We're creating an instance and initializing it with nibname. And in this case, our nibname, our XIB file, is called exactly the same as the class is. And we ignore bundle, we just set it to no. I'll get back to bundle at some later point. And this instance of this controller, we're setting into the root as the root view controller. Now, if I run this application now, I see Hello World. Does everyone have Hello World so far? Well, I like smileys. Okay, I see. Yes, probably your Apple has some weird thing about simulators. If the screen resolution is not high enough and you, let's say, selected an iOS 7 simulator, for example, it could happen that it does not show like the real, like the phone silhouette around it. It just shows a screen. But it's, let me see if I can simulate the simulator. So like this, for example. Does it look like this? So what I selected, and you can see here on the top, I selected iPad Retina iOS 7. The iPad Retina iOS 7 in this, on my screen right now, is bigger than what I can see. So I don't, my screen, my laptop does not have the room to show it. So it shows what's really necessary to show. And even you can see, sometimes it makes it scrollable because it cannot fit the entire simulator. Now, if you get into a situation like this, what you always can do is under the simulator navigation menu bar up, you have an item called window, and you can zoom or scale. Let's say I'm scaling it to 50%, and then you can see at least, I'm waiting until it shows up on your screen, then at least you can see the entire simulator screen, but still it doesn't show the iPad around it because it does not have actually the room for it. So you can, if simulator is selected, on the menu bar you have under hardware, you can select the different devices. You can select between iPhone, iPhone Retina, iPhone the 4-inch, iPad, iPad Retina. So you can play around with the hardware simulation. You can also, under hardware, you can also rotate. Let's say you would need to rotate to left. If you're building an application that you need to test in instead of portrait in a landscape, that's where in simulator you can change the direction. And different other hardware settings. And like I said, you can in scale you can set up the ratio how to scale it. If it's usually it's 100%. If you don't see everything, just scale it down to 75% or 50%. So I'm going to go back to iPhone and go back to 100% scale. Did that help? Were you able to find those settings on your simulator? Good. Good. Okay. How about 10-minute break? Okay. Okay, I'm setting the timer to 10 minutes, and where is it? Timer. There it is. And I'll talk to you guys in 10 minutes. Sure. Can you see it, Linda? Okay. Okay, are we all back? Okay, how to fix the simulator setting. The simulator setting. If you see in your simulator, okay, first of all, what is when you select on the menu of the simulator under hardware, device, what is your selection? It is iPhone. And in iPhone, it shows for you that without the iPhone around. Is that correct? It shows just the window, right? Okay. What is your screen resolution? What kind of Mac computer do you use? No, like, you have like an 13-inch? Okay. You might, MacBook Pro 13. I mean, it's nothing really wrong with how your simulator looks like. It's not much you can fix since you are running the lowest resolution of the iPhone simulator. So if it were, let's say, a Red Knight or something else, it would be probably possible to change that. So what I'm thinking, how can you, I'm not sure if you can share a screenshot or something, because I'm trying to figure out what exactly do you see. Let's do this. If you can take a screenshot and just send me that via email for now, and I will get it in a second, and I'll just take a look at your screenshot so I can see what we can fix for you. Is that okay? Yeah. Do you see an icon like it's right now on my simulator? Okay, so okay, perfect. That's all normal. So you can see how I'm clicking with my mouse into the simulator and I'm dragging the screen like you would simulate the swiping through the two different. So the standard icons are there on the first screen. Whenever you run an application on your simulator, we haven't set up yet any app icon. So Apple just replaces it with those kind of blueprint, white print, whatever they're called, like standard icons, which shows you that that is an icon which you deployed on your simulator. So there's nothing wrong with your simulator. That's all the way it's supposed to be. If you're swiping to the front, you see the other icons. Great. Okay, so I assume everyone got the Hello World label showing up. how do you work on your Xcode? I think what you mean is because of the screen size that you yeah, I mean, it might be a little bit difficult if you have like a small screen size, but I'm trying to give you time in between, and of course you also can let me know to like pause at some point or leave the screen a little bit longer so you can follow. Or if, yeah, I mean, I don't know, some maybe have another device available so they can follow the lecture there, and but yeah, you should be able, like, or you should be switching between different apps and just going back and forth. I mean, like I said, I'll give you time to follow it. Okay. Hello World does not show for you. You get a black page. Oh, did you, after you added these 2 lines of code, did you run the app again? Because if you didn't run the app, if you did not deploy it again on the simulator still has then the previous deployed version of the app. So if you click on the simulator on that iPhone app icon, it will still have the previous one. So let me comment this out. So it would be something like this. So even though if you would have this already in there, in order for the simulator to know about your new change, you need to deploy it. Every time you change something in your code, in Xcode, you need to run a new deployment on your simulator. Okay. Okay, so now let's take a look again on the interface builder file. What we're going to do now is, we have here this label, we're just going to leave it alone. We're going to add a button. And we'll just this button, I'm just typing the text show alert. You can type in whatever you would like to. And you can see again, I dragged it out of the objects library. I dragged it into the UI view, and it places right inside UI view. Running the application, I will see now Hello World, and I will see this button. And you know that it is a button. If you click on it, it acts like a button. Before iOS 7, buttons had a border around, a rounded border around. Now, buttons don't have anything anymore around, so they're just like this blue button. But what we are going to do now, we want this button to show something when it's being clicked. And what we will need is in our interface file, we will need an IB action. So an IB action is, I mean, we know how we declare a method. So this void, and that's our method. But this method, even though it is in the interface file, but the interface builder, the NIT file, cannot access it. So what do we need to change for the interface builder to be able to access it? Instead of this being void, we say it's an IB action. And we're naming it. And we actually, I'm just going to remove this all, just the same as it were an IB and a void, instead of void, IB action. And now when we go to the NIT file again, how do we link this now to this button? Every NIT file has a file's owner. And files, when you click on file's owner, you will see under the identity inspector which class this NIT file refers to. So this is, based on this class, you have access to this class method. Now on the connection inspector, and that's what we need to make a connection to that IB action which we declared in the interface. We need to make a connection to this button. Now we see we have action. We created this IB action, and there it is. It shows. And you know if an action is connected to any element, to any object, UI object, if there is a rounded border around it. This one is not connected, so there is no rounded border. Also in this little circle, there is no dot in there. It's not connected. But you can see here how it would look like if something is connected. And this outlet, the UI view, every NIT file, every view controller will have this view connected to view. So what we do now with the button is we're going to click into this circle and hold our mouse clicked and drag it into the button. And we know that we have only this button available. So if we try to connect it to the label, you see nothing happens. It does not highlight. So the button conforms to that action. So we can do this. Once I release the mouse, I get like a drop-down menu. Now I think you cannot see it because it just shows like a black box. But what you select in here is touch up inside. That is basically when you touch a button and release it, that's when that action will be called. Why touch up inside? Because you could be touching a button, but changing your mind while you have still the button touched and just swipe to the side so it's not executed. You really touch up inside. You have to touch it and release it. That's when this action will be executed. So Now, we have done the connection. That's all what we need to do in our interface builder file. We have declared the method. Now, what we need to do is we have to fill the method's body. And what I'm going to do is right underneath the view did load, I will just create this method's body. And what do we want to do when that button is clicked or tapped? We want to show an alert. And the way we show an alert is we have to instantiate an alert view. We create UI alert view, and I'm just going to call it hello alert. UI alert view, we allocate the memory for it, and now an alert has, besides the just regular init method, it has an init with title. That's the alert. That's the very most common way to use the alert, to create an alert. We just init with title. In the title, I'm just going to type in a string, my first app, and the message. And you have seen the alerts, they have the title and the message. Like, the title is a little bit bolder, and the message can be much longer, and it's in a smaller font. You don't need to put both in, but if you have the information, if you want to provide information to the user, you just type them in. Now, we are going to have the cancel button, and the cancel button, it's going to be okay, and we won't have any other buttons. I'll come back to what you can do with other buttons and why the cancel button title is okay. Now, we just created an instance of an alert view. How we show this alert is on our hello alert, we call the method show. We want to show this alert. Okay, now again, we have declared in our interface file, we have created this IB action, we filled the body that whenever this button will be clicked, we get an alert. I'm running this application. I have here my label, Hello World. I'm clicking on this button and I see the title, my first app, and the message, Hello World. The OK button is the cancel button. And by clicking that OK button, the alert disappears. Absolutely. Okay. So alerts, you will be using alerts a lot. And other buttons, let's say we will call this cancel. And other buttons, or let's say it's okay. This is how you show other buttons. The cancel button always just makes the alert disappear. And the OK button or the other buttons, you can implement functionality which checks on which button was selected. And so you can do some, let's say you have a question, do you really want to continue? And the user says, okay, then you continue to the next step. But cancel will not do anything else but just hide that alert. So that's why cancel button title is its own value, and other buttons you can, by comma separating them, can add more buttons to this alert. So depending on what kind of alert you will be showing, you can modify and add buttons. And now it makes it even more clear. You see the cancel button is like bolder and bigger font. So it's before iOS 7, the cancel button I think was even in a complete different color. So to just really make it clear to the user, when they tap that button, nothing is going to happen. No credit card will be charged. Okay. To make the other button, we will need to implement another protocol. And the way we would do that is in our header file, we will implement UI alert view delegate. So we extend the functionality of our view controller. Whatever UI alert view will provide us on functionality. And then we have access to the methods, to the protocol methods from UI alert view. And there you can see UI alert view clicked button at index. This is the method we're implementing out of the protocol of UI alert view delegate. Now we know clicked button at index. This is all what we have. Let's just print an NS log. And this NS log, we're passing the button index. And let's see now what happens. Deploying again the app on the simulator. And let's see if I get a log. I don't, because we have to set the delegate. We implemented the protocol, we implemented the method, but this hello alert doesn't know that it has to respond to our view controller. So the way we make it respond to our view controller, we call on hello world, on hello alert, the delegate, and set it to self. So basically, it responds to this class, to this view controller, to the hello world view controller. Self is hello world view controller. Now I'm deploying it again. Show alert. And now you can see I clicked the OK button, and in our log here, button at index tapped. I should put button at index so the sentence makes more sense. Button at index 1 tapped. Button at index 2 tapped. Button at index 0 tapped. So what I would be doing is then, if button index equals 1, I'm being lazy, I'm typing the NS log. So you see now, we will still get the alert. Button at index 1 tapped. If I tap now on the save, since it's not the button index 1, I only get to see the first log, but not the second. So that's how you know which button was pressed, and then decide based on the button index what needs to get done. So I'm going to go and leave the code a little bit on the screen if you want to take a look. If for some reason you have the button, you have this code, but again, your button does not do anything. It does not show the alert. It does not show any anything. It does not do other than just you see that it's a button. Just double check again in the interface builder file if the button is connected. If for whatever reason you haven't connected this button and you run the application, the button will not do anything. So those are the most common reasons when if you expect something to happen but everything looks fine, Xcode does not give you any error messages or any syntax errors or anything, but you still don't see the result. Just check if you have wired the buttons, the other like objects, actions, if you have wired them properly. And once that's done, and again, you see it working. Now, one more thing I want to add to this because it will help you in your assignment, and I promise this assignment is very simple. I'm going to add a text field. and a text field, the same way a button works, that you can wire it, the same way a label, all the elements, all the objects on this UI interface. You wire them if they have actions, you wire them if they have outlets. Those are the only two things which you need to remember. You have IB out actions, you have IB outlets. Now, I showed you in the interface file. I'm just going to copy so you have the comparison. This is the a method, like a regular method with void. And if Interface Builder needs to know about it, then you, instead of void, you add IB action. Now, for properties, you have property, I'm going to call it non-atomic, weak, and we know we are going to have a UI text field. I'm calling it text field. Now, Interface Builder does not know about this property. I'm going to copy it so you see the difference, and I'm going to just comment it out. To be consistent, commenting it out, the bottom one. Now, just so I can show you. In Interface Builder, clicking the file's owner, I don't see any text field here. I just don't see it. It's not there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in front of UI text field IB outlet. Now, going back to Interface Builder, you see here text field appeared because of that flag IB outlet. Now we can connect this property to this text field. So this IB outlet translates into nothing. This IB action translates into void. But because this IB outlet does not need to translate into something, but it's just a flag for Interface Builder to know about this property. Now, what we can do is work with this property in our code. Let's say I would tap the button at index 1, and I would want to write text in text field. So, and I'm adding from my text field, I'm taking the text which was entered, and I'm printing this out. So if I run this application now, I have here a text field. I'm going to write something in there. And I'm going to press now this button. And when I click OK, I should have now 3 lines in the log. And button at index 1 tapped, OK button tapped, text in text field is text, just to make sure that it really was working. I'm tapping again. You see text 1, 2, 3. And this you should be able to do even a little bit more. We have a label in here, the hello world. And what I'm going to do is just create another property for UI label. I'm just going to call it label. I'm not creative right now. So going now into our interface builder, I have labels here available. I'm going to connect the label, and again, it doesn't connect to anything else because it only conforms to UI label, so that's the only thing I can connect it to. Going back to our implementation, I'm not only going to print the text I entered on the NS log, I'm also going to set it self label text, and I'm going to take the text out of the text field entered. Running this application now should give us an alert. When I click OK, I see the label changing. I see the log files printing. And whenever you change, click the OK, it changes your label. If you click anything else, it doesn't. So just to make sure we changed it. We're clicking save, so it doesn't. We're clicking cancel, it doesn't. We're clicking OK, it changes. So in this example, you see how we created a button, a label, a text field, and implemented IB actions and IB outlets within each other. It's a very simple example, but it's a lot what you will be using in a lot of applications. You will be having a lot of text fields. You will be having a lot of buttons, labels. Everything what you see on a screen is a label, except if you are able to change the text. So I think that's, yes, I can show the text field code. The text field code the first line, I'm printing out the text field code with an NS log. In the second line, I'm setting the label text from the text field text. Because for NS string and text is NS string, we always use % and the @ The %s is for characters, like for when you use anything in C and just really characters. But every time, most of the time, you will be using the @. Also, if you have an object and you use the %add, what it does is it takes the value which is under description. Every NS object has a dot description. It's like in Java you would say toString, and that's what is going to be printed out here. And since string is just a string, so it will be printing out that string. If, let's say, you have a different object which has a specific way of showing the description. Let's say you have a dictionary. It will show as a dictionary. So you don't have anything specific for a dictionary if you want to print that out. So everything was under dot description. That's what's being printed there. Okay, so I think I'm through with actually the material which I wanted to go through today. But if you have any questions, please ask so. If you want me to switch to a different screen so you can see the header file or the app delegate or anything, please let me know which of the files you want to see. Oh yeah, the recording can be found in Epsilon. And when you log into Epsilon and you click on the Collaborate tab, there is the archive. And the code, everything what I did here, this example, and all the objects you see, I will be uploading. Where will I will create a Dropbox, and I will make it available to everyone, and I will be uploading the results into that Dropbox. I think that works the best. Okay, great. And just so I explain a little bit the new assignment, everything what I showed today, everything will be used. Nothing more in this assignment, in the new assignment. And what the new assignment is going to be is kind of like a fortune cookie app. So where you type in a word into a text field, you hit a button, and you in your code, based on some arrays or dictionaries or whatever you want to use, you show every time some other fortune. And I will have like maybe another challenge in there, which I did not show yet, but I just want to see how you would implement that. But I will publish it latest tomorrow morning, and everything you should be able to create that exercise or that assignment based on this what I just showed now. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna upload this as well into a Dropbox, what we just showed with the alerts and text fields and so on. Okay, the click button at index, you have to implement the UI alert view delegate protocol. And this protocol is like in Java Extend. And then you can, if you implement a protocol, whenever you start typing, I'm putting the dash and start in typing alert, you will get a list of methods which are available from that protocol. Or what you can do is you can command click on the UI alert view delegate, and there as well you get a list what methods are available for you, and those are all optional, as you can see. And this is exact the same principle what I went through last week when I was explaining protocols. So if you want to go back and take a look at the presentation from last week and or read something about protocols and delegates, this is exactly what it is. You implement a protocol, and in the implementation file, you set, and this is really the most important, if you don't have set this alert views delegate to self, alert view will not respond to your view controller. So you want alert view to respond to your view controller, so you set the delegate to self. Any other questions? Any other requests? And again, even like from now until next week, if you have any other questions, if you're stuck with something, or if you're trying out something, please email me. Or if there is something which needs a call, let me know, and we can definitely jump on a call. And I see, when is the assignment due? For some reason, I did put for last assignment a due date in there. What I will be doing is, once I send the announcement out that once the assignment is available, I will put in that announcement as well the due date. Usually, probably by Tuesday, so I have at least like a day to review it. And this is possible to have it done by Tuesday. This assignment should take not as long. The last one, I know, it took a little bit longer, but it was worth it for me and for you guys. So because you will be using different parts of that last assignment, like how to create an array or how to create a dictionary. You will be using that a lot. So in the trainings and yeah, but Tuesday. Usually Tuesdays, the assignments are due. If there is any issue that you cannot finish it by Tuesday, just let me know that you need a little bit more time. Thank you. You're welcome. Have a good night. Good night. Yes, don't worry, John. I saw you uploaded, and even if somebody hasn't uploaded it yet, just do it. If you want to finish it, just do it. It's I'm gonna be nice in terms of not looking at the due date of the assignment. So if you really want to finish the assignment, whoever hasn't finished it completely, feel free to do so. But you don't have to if you haven't. Okay. Yes, you can still, Thomas, yes, you can still submit the assignment. Yeah, I figured that. I added it into the lesson functionality, but since I was asked a few times about the due date of the assignment, that's why I'm not like grading it exactly the way it's supposed to be. So, but for this next assignment, I will add it into the announcement so you have it as an email when the assignment is due. So don't worry about it. Just submit the last assignment whenever you have it done, or I mean best obviously before the next class. But yeah. No problem. You're welcome, Thomas. Okay, let me see if I can put the link in there. So if you log into the class in Epsilon and all the way down, almost the last tab is Collaborate. Okay, it's logging me out. So Renee, you're able to log in Epsilon and into the class, right? Where you can see the syllabus and the assignments and everything. So all the way down there is a Collaborate tab. Just taking a little bit for me. And within somewhere in the middle, it's mentioned the archives. Yeah, it's taking a while for me to, probably it's around this time everybody's logging in, I guess. Yeah, if you just click on that archive and then you would see the recordings. Yeah, it is, since it's like a recording of Collaborate and it's just included as a link into Epsilon. I'm not exactly sure when the recordings always are available, so for today's recording, it won't be available within the next few hours, but probably maybe until tomorrow or the next day. I'm not exactly sure how the turnaround there is. But it's not loading for me. So in case you don't find it, just shoot me an email and we should be fine. Should be able to figure that out. I'm glad, Renee. Have a great night. Just maybe I would just maybe try tomorrow. Probably it's too late for Epsilon. It was not loading for me either. So, but let me know if it tomorrow does not work. Just send me an email. Good night.